Welcome to GoVA. Today we are talking about military family budgeting tips. What should every military family know about how to build a budget and what the essential tools are for doing that? I'm Lizanne Lightfoot. I'm the Director of Marketing and Content here at GoVA. And my special guest is Phil Johnny. He is the founder of GoVA. So thank you so much for joining me today, Phil.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for putting this together. I'm excited to chat about the importance of budgeting and some things to do to help military families. It's a passion of mine, and I'm excited because we've got some great stuff that I know can impact these families in a very beneficial way.
Absolutely. So let's start with just the 101 basics. What is the purpose of a budget, and why is it important for military families to understand those basics?
Sure, that's a great question. And it's pretty simple. When you're looking at a budget, whether you're a family, a company, uh, anything that you're doing where you have revenue coming in and expenses going out, it's really important to understand, what do I have coming in and what do I have coming out? This is going to give you the foundation of making really good decisions that is going to put you in a less stressed position in your life for any potential changes or unexpected life events that get thrown at you.
Yeah, I like that. And I think one of the themes you're going to hear on GoVA and on our membership platform, The Edge, repeatedly is that budgeting is a positive thing. I think so many people view it as a restrictive process. It's like a diet, if I just take away all the fun things in my life, then I'll be able to save more money. But really, we want budgets to be seen as a healthy and a useful thing for a family. So, for a family that has a healthy household budget, Phil, how can a budget help them feel more confident and feel more comfortable with their spending?
Sure. It's best to know, what are you spending money on? And when it comes time to making any major purchases, or if things change in your family, or any different changes as far as growth in your family, any type of moves that comes up, or deployment that you're dealing with, it's always best to know where you currently stand financially. Before you decide how to move forward, you have to understand where you're currently at. And when you're looking at your budget, how much income do I have coming in? How many expenses do I have going out? And being able to do a budget is the most rewarding experience ever, because you might find out that you're in a much more better financial position than you expected from the beginning of the exercise. And it might get you to a point where you now say, hey, I want to diversify some of my investments. It might put you in a position where you might be going to Starbucks every day and not realizing what type of impact that has on your financial picture. And it's so funny because I see that when I'm working with consumers, that they might be so budget or payment driven. We're in a society right now where everybody's looking at living the maximum lifestyle for the lowest monthly payment. And
Mhm.
people make decisions based on whatever that monthly payment's going to be, not the actual cost of something. And that's not a good way to look at stuff. And so you want to be able to look at, what type of cash flow do I have coming in, and how can I manage some of these miscellaneous expenses. I could challenge our listeners that doing a budget and looking at what some of their monthly miscellaneous expenses are, they would be shocked. They probably could go on 2 extra vacations per year. They probably could pay off a car in a year with some of these unexpected or miscellaneous expenses that occur, because they add up quick. When you look at some of these subscription services, or you look at some of these free trials that are out there, or some of these store credit cards that people get because they think they're getting a discount at the time of their purchase of 15 to 20%, they have fees that are associated with them. And so being able to understand where your money is going is the most fulfilling feeling ever. I is the best way to explain it. Just simply that piece of it right there, knowing exactly where your money is going to give you so much confidence, and you're going to feel a sense of ownership in your money. Think about that for a second. Like, Do you have a sense of ownership in your money? I remember when I was a kid and my mom would put this jar on the counter, and I would always want stuff. Anytime we went to the store, I was like, I want that, I want this, I want that. And they plan these things perfect for when you have kids and you're walking through an aisle, like it's all at
Mm-hmm.
kid level, and like
Mm-hmm.
every child sees it, and then it's just like they wear the parents out for it. So my mom would put a jar on the counter, and if I wanted something, she would deposit like 50 cents every time I did something like a chore or something. She'd put 50 cents in the jar, and like by like month 2 or 3, the jar would be full, and she would be like, do you want to purchase that, toy or whatever it was you saw? And the answer would be no, because I saw my money, and I put in the hard work for my money, and I respected it more. I had a
Mm.
higher level of ownership of my money, because I didn't just make quick decisions. It was looking at the money, understanding where it was going and what you were doing to earn it. That sense of ownership in your money becomes so powerful that you end up just naturally making really good decisions. And we're in a society right now that everything is about instant gratification. Everything is at your fingertips. Everything is also driven on your emotional buying patterns. It's really
Mm-hmm.
tough just to survive in society without buying stuff, which is really why we're dealing with such high inflation right now. You have so many social media influencers, so many different data aggregators that understand buying patterns. It's not easy to hang on to your cash. Let's face it. It's much
Absolutely.
harder to hang on to your cash today than it's ever been, because of all these influences that are in your face constantly. And they're influencing your friends and your circle of people that you trust. So there's really no safe place to be like shielded from this influence of spending money. And so I recommend like taking a step to budget, like get control of your money. Understand what you've got coming in, what you have going out, so that you can start making better choices and not pay attention to some of these emotional triggers that are driving you to spend money. It's very different from back in the day when we didn't have social media. We didn't have, it was a lot more, it was all what? It was magazines, right? You'd get
Right.
magazines and like pictures were driving you to spend money. Now it's so much higher level influence to get you to spend money, which just speaks to why it's so important to take a minute and like fight back,
Yeah.
understand where you're at, have some fun with it, gain control of your income and of your assets, because as you can control that, it continues to strengthen your foundation. If you're, eating healthy or exercising, it can be fun if you make it fun. Don't make it tedious.
Right.
Tedious is when you're trying to buy something and you've not planned for it, and you have to face the disappointment of, I can't do that right now, or I really want that because it's going to fulfill a hole in my heart, or it's going to make me happy or trigger an emotion that's going to make me feel good. Those are the worst reasons to buy stuff or spend money. You want to spend money because it's coming from a confident position within. And in order to do that, just sit down and do a budget. Understand, what am I spending and what do I have coming in? And what's the delta between the two? You
Right.
really want to make sure you've got that. We talk about equity in your home, how much of your mortgage balance versus how much of the value of your house. The difference between the two is your equity. How much equity do you have in your cash flow? How much money is being spent and how much money is coming in. And the variance between the two is your equity on your cash flow. What's your equity position, right? That's a great thing to look at, because it's going to help drive much better financial decisions and choices that you have and that you make every single day.
Yeah, I love that. I think you said so many useful things. First of all, just the idea that a budget can be empowering and fulfilling, and frankly, fun. At Govier, through our tools on the edge, we really believe that we can empower military families, and we make the process easy, approachable, and fun for you. You can earn points. There's a whole gamification to it. It's something that should be interactive and useful to you, not something, like you said, that should be restrictive and difficult. And I really liked how you talked about gaining control and feeling invested in your own money, in your own income, because let's face it, you've worked to earn it. We've all worked and done something to earn our money, and to be giving it away so easily for these things, like you said, that are emotional or impulsive spending. It's very easy to spend money nowadays. It's very instantaneous. But I remember a little while ago when I was a new mom, before Amazon was so, you know, in the palm of your hand all the time and it was harder to actually get things, I would write down the items that I thought I wanted for the house or for the kids or just in general. And I would keep this piece of paper up on my fridge. And then I'd go to Target about once a month. And if I still wanted those items a month later, then it was something that was probably useful and I needed, and I should go ahead and get it. And if it was something that I was like, oh, yeah, I don't even know why that's on the list, then I didn't need it anymore. But now I think we don't have that delay in what I want and what I'm purchasing. And so as soon as we think of something, we can order it, we can get it, and it just shows up at our house. So purchasing has become easier, but I think controlling our money has become a lot more challenging. So for someone who hasn't sat down to do a budget before, I know it can feel a little bit overwhelming, a little bit intimidating. You think like, how am I going to even gather all my information in one place? So we do make it easy with some of those tools that are on the Edge. There are some really interactive things that are already built for you. You do not have to build your own spreadsheet. You do not have to do your own calculations. But Phil, what are some of the documents or the information that somebody would need to build a household budget for the first time?
Sure, that's a great question. First and foremost, definitely go to the Edge and utilize those tools. But in order to prepare for that experience, make sure you've got your bank statements and credit card statements. And I'd start with just the most recent 2 months to make sure that maybe there was a one-off charge here or there, but you can identify if there's some consistent charges, those miscellaneous items. But I would look at I'd pull your credit card statement from the last 2 months, and I'd pull your bank statement from the last 2 months. That's going to show you exactly where all your money's going, because to your point, in today's society, in our time today, with everything being in the palm of your hand, all your payments are electronic. You very rarely use cash anymore. And so the good news about that is it's very well documented already for you. You don't need to dig around and look up receipts. You don't need to go through drawers and try to figure out, where's this receipt or that receipt, or did I have a grocery list and, how much did you don't need any of that. It's, one of the benefits of all of this in the palm of your hand spending is in the palm of your hand history of your spending. And so take a 2-month history of that, have it available so that you can go through our financial assessment on the Edge for your budgeting, and as it asks you questions, you've got all the data right there, all the information right there to be able to just plug in, and it will then automatically create a budget for you based on your inputs. And so it could be a fun experience too. I know in my household, right around the holiday time, we always do this is so funny, but it's something that like gets you thinking. Half of the job of saving and budgeting is just getting the right mindset, right? It's like, forget all of these fancy like things that all these like really smart economic people tell you. Like, number one, just have the right mindset, right? And have fun with it. So here's something we do in our family is we always have like before we go out to dinner, like we have 2 nights a week where we do a clean the pantry, clean the fridge night for dinner, where it's like, before we go out to eat in the weekend or the following week, we've got to have 2 meals minimum at home. That's like a smorgasbord of food. And it's like, you could have a beef sandwich with like a cup of soup and like some random salad or something like it's just, but you know what it does? It's like funny because each family member will alternate through the month whose job it is to do a hodgepodge of dinner for the night. But here's the reality. I've got 4 children, my wife, My mom is over often. So when we go out to dinner, that's $200-300 right
Hmm.
there at dinner. But when we go and just do a fun, stupid, silly activity at home, we save $600. So
Yeah.
it's like, why not? And if you're working towards paying down a credit card, or you want to pay your car off early, you want to be able to save some cash, it's a great way to create a game. And it's actually funny because you're just creating a nice family experience. And again, it's the mindset, and it keeps everybody in the family conscious and engaged
Hmm.
with budgeting, right? So it's creating an exercise, and it's just creating that mindset of being aware of your spending. I can't tell you how important, like, so many people think that you've got to like give stuff up or change your life, or it's like, like you said earlier in one of our previous conversations, like, going on, a diet or going to the gym. It's like, it can be this like tedious thing where it's like, well, I really like ice cream, like I love strawberry ice cream, right? But like, I don't want to never eat strawberry ice cream again.
Right.
But in moderation, or being aware of how much strawberry ice cream you're eating, or being aware of your actions, is like 50 to 60% of it right there, because other things start falling into place. You're more aware of those financial decisions that you're making.
Yeah, absolutely. So I heard a couple of important tips there. One is the idea that you can start making a budget just based on the last couple of months of tracking. And like you pointed out, usually if you just gather your credit card bills and your basic bills or your banking statements, everything is organized there for you. So you don't have to dive too deep for that. I'll never forget during one deployment, my husband and I have a shared credit card account. So usually both of our expenses are jumbled together. And when he deployed, he wasn't able to use that credit card. So it was just me. And I was expecting it would be gas, groceries, gas, groceries. And I'm seeing all these little subscription fees coming up and all these additional things that I had not recognized. And we finally had to communicate and figure out that, oh, yeah, this was something that he'd had for a game years ago and he forgot to cancel. And we were able to save a bunch of money just from these little trickles of subscriptions and random fees that should have been canceled long ago. So I've always kind of looked at budgeting as a little bit of like a puzzle or a game that, like you said, it has a lot of benefits, it has a lot of positive aspects, and it can be a fun challenge for you as a couple or as a family to kind of figure out where are the leaks, like where can we kind of plug up some holes and get us closer to our own goals and the rewards that we're working towards. So I do love that. But I also heard you saying that, your budget could be based on just a couple of months of your previous statements. And as a military family, I know if you take a 2-month section of our lives, it is going to look dramatically different right after a PCS move, right in the middle of a deployment. And so military families are constantly facing these dramatic and unfortunate budgeting challenges. A lot of times when we move, we have a bunch of out-of-pocket expenses. Even if the military reimburses, it can take months to catch up. You've got your, security deposits and new utilities and all the things you had to buy to replace in your pantry when you move. And then during deployments, a lot of families, the spouse might work less or go to part-time or not work at all. You might have additional expenses from the service member side. And so your household budget can look really different. So for families that are going through these major changes, what budgeting strategies can you recommend to help them kind of even them out and stay on track?
Great question. And especially as it relates to military families with the things you've just described, one of the most impactful things is understanding your miscellaneous expenses. And I think your story was like spot on for what you should be doing in making sure you're not having those miscellaneous expenses with subscription fees, making sure that you're not doing just frivolous spending. You have to be very proactive as a military family with your budgeting due
Mm.
to what you just described, those unexpected events or moves. And having a budget in place, understanding even what you're spending month over month, but then being able to say, okay, now I'm taking this money and I'm going to put it in a separate account and let that grow. you've got to have willpower. You've got to have discipline in yourself. And it all stems from respecting yourself. When you have that self-respect and you have that discipline, you're going to be able to do these things. We can give you all the tools and resources, but if you're not a disciplined person, or you're not respecting yourself, then you're going to have a much more difficult time to execute some of these strategies that we give you. And so for military families that have these sporadic swings in their expenses, the most important thing is jotting down what are your fixed costs. What are things that you have to pay every single month that's not sporadic? Understand those fixed costs. That's number one. Number two, understand your miscellaneous spending and look at ways to shave that miscellaneous spending to turn the spending into saving. And if you save some of those miscellaneous items, when you have those big ebbs and flows within military life, you'll have a little bit of a reserve built up where, when you talk about these expenses, you could have between security deposits, replenishing your pantry, your refrigerator, utility deposits. That's going to be somewhere in the area of $2,000 to $3,000, and you can look and see, okay, over the last year, how many life-changing events occurred for me. So maybe it's two, maybe it's three, 2 to 3 times a year. You're looking at, you really need to save up, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for this unexpected stuff, which is very doable with shaving off some of those monthly miscellaneous expenses. If you're shaving off $500 a month, that's $6,000 annually right there.
Right.
And if you just start making those changes to your life now, you're going to see a big noticeable difference the next time that comes up. You won't have to deplete your savings, or you won't have to put yourself in a financially strapped position. One other thing too is, in some of our other conversations, we talked about the importance of credit and making sure that you have a handle on your credit scores. Your credit card can be very advantageous to you in military life if used the proper way. Meaning, if you are only using 50% or less of your approved credit limit, when those events or things come up, you can put that stuff on your credit card and then work to pay it down throughout the next couple months. When you have a spike like that, and then you start to work to pay it down, that's going to actually help build your credit score. It's when you maintain these high balances month over month for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months in a row, that's going to weigh your credit score. And so there's a couple of things, just to recap. 1, understand your miscellaneous expenses. 2, make sure that you have an idea of what your fixed rate expenses are. That's going to be your housing payment, your auto payment, insurance payment, taxes, all plays into making sure you have a good budget and handle on your money so that you're able to then shave those expenses, turn it into savings, making sure you're managing your credit cards so that you can utilize that credit for those types of expenses that come your way so that you're not strapped. Because you are going to then end up having an influx of cash right around tax season. When you file your income taxes, you get a nice tax refund that helps replenish the wealth. And so making sure that you have a handle on, what are my projected tax return or my projected tax refund going to be? What are things that are tax deductible? That's going to go into the next level of budgeting and planning, but that's also very impactful to understand. So taking the first step and just understanding, what am I paying out? What do I have coming in? And how do I start cleaning that up? We can help you do that through the Edge and in our budget planning tools so that you're not sitting there by yourself trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I do love that the Edge has an entire category on budgeting. And so no matter whether you're coming at it for the very first time or you've had a budget for years and you want a little help tweaking, or maybe you're adjusting after a big PCS move. You can either click on the Start Here guides and it'll walk you through the basics of budgeting, or there's all these different interactive tools and courses and calculators that can help you get your hands onto your own numbers and manipulate your own budget the way that you need it to be. And it'll walk you through all those steps in a very friendly and approachable manner. So remember that our Edge membership, it is free to active duty military, to veterans, to the military spouses. This is a super useful tool that we wanted to use modern technology to help military families manage their finances and really get access to the best tools. So we made that free to you, and you will see a link below on how you can join the Edge and start using some of these tools. But Phil, I heard you say a couple of important things there. And I think one takeaway for me is that when military families talk about these unexpected moments of military life, the PCS move that's very expensive out of pocket, or the deployment that really upsets the household budget, it's almost like we should view those unexpected moments as expected events. We don't know when they're going to happen. I don't know, what year the deployment is going to come or when next PCS move is going to be, but I know it's probably going to happen. And so you're saying that by building that kind of emergency savings account, or by keeping your credit card spending down, you're building a buffer into your life and into your budget that is preparing you for these emergency events or these unexpected events. So I think that's a really great way for military families to approach life instead of constantly feeling, surprised, overwhelmed, and unexpected with all these changes that we face. But there's also some sometimes anticipated changes. We just came through the holiday season, and I think so many people, they just throw their budget out the window during the holidays, and it's nice to enjoy some things that you don't have the rest of the year. We have extra food and extra gifts and fancier events than we would usually attend. But for families who have found themselves now off their budget and trying to readjust after the holidays, what are some ways that you can help people get back on track and sort of refocus themselves for the year ahead?
Absolutely. Great question. And, it's also really good timing coming out of the holiday season. You're going straight into tax preparation season. And so the benefits of this time of year, when you take a budgeting approach, or when you look at how to replenish that perfect timing is it's tax season. And so you'll be able to get your taxes filed, get with an accountant, and start getting all of your tax documents together from year end, and being able to have all that compiled. You could start filing your taxes now, which means you're going to get your refund back sooner than later. Because if you wait until the deadline, until April, then you're going to end up with every other American filing their taxes, and then the time frame to get your refund is going to be a little bit more delayed. So one of the biggest things I would recommend to military families right now is get your taxes in order and start filing your taxes. You can go to H&R Block, you can go to TurboTax, you can do it online. It's pretty cut and dry. Get all of your income documents together, get all of your tax documents together, as far as your property taxes, if you own a house, if you have any expenses that have occurred. These new softwares and online courses. We even actually have tax courses on our Edge platform that you can watch that will help prepare you. Our whole mission at GoVA is educate, prepare, and deploy. And what we mean by that is we want to educate you so that when it comes time to execute a financial product or deal with a life-changing event, that you're prepared for it, right? So we're not a financial institution. We are a service to military members and their families, and we're there to help educate you through products and services and tools that, number one, meet all the regulatory standards and guidelines for all regulatory agencies, the CFPB, the FDIC. All of our courses are certified. All of our tools are certified. So it's not something that is a blog or an article that you read. These are all really high quality interactive tools that are going to make a big difference in your financial life. And so we want to educate you and give you that for free in our membership. And then two, we want to prepare you and give you this information so that you are making well-informed decisions, you're confident, you're empowered in your decision that you're making. And then as you deploy into that financial product or service, we're there to help support you and answer questions and provide advice and guidance along the way. And so when we look at just initially coming out of the holidays right now, a great way to prepare you is to start getting you to get all of your tax information together and get out there and get your income tax return filed so that you can get that refund to help offset some of these holiday expenses that you just racked up on your credit card. A second thing I'd like for you guys to do is get an idea of what do you have on your credit cards, what were new fresh spent items, and check out where your credit score is, because your first approach is, can I pay down some of these things to maybe get my credit score up? Am I at my limit on some of these other credit cards that maybe I can take the next 30 days to maybe apply a little extra cash to this one particular credit card and get that balance down, bump up my score, and then go to look at what credit cards allow for a 0% balance transfer. A 0% balance transfer will wipe out that credit card debt onto a new credit card. Now, here's where you have to have the willpower and the confidence in yourself to not go rack up that credit card that you just did a balance transfer on. That's going to defeat the whole purpose. So you got to be strong. And so you go and you transfer your balance to a zero interest credit card balance transfer as a promo, and then work towards paying that down. Maybe take and look at, okay, my balance on this credit card is, call it $2,000, $3,000. How long can you pay down that? How long is it going to take you to pay down that credit card? Is it going to take you 6 months, 12 months? Take that balance and divide it by 6, divide it by 12. And then that's your monthly payment, and that's your term to pay that loan back. And so you're taking revolving debt from the holidays and you're going to turn it into installment debt, which means you're going to tell yourself, I'm going to take control of this credit card. I'm going to divide out how many months is my goal to pay this off. And I'm going to just take that balance and divide it over those months and make that monthly payment. And then you will quickly see that you can pay that credit card down or off by the end of this year or by summer of this year. Who knows? You might even get your refund if you take that tax advice that I gave you, get your refund, and then hit different chunks of those credit cards if you have a few of them, or maybe just apply it all towards that one credit card, and then now build that credit score, work on your budget so that you can move forward throughout this year and be even more prepared for holiday at the end of this year.
That's awesome. That's really good advice. And I hope that our listeners are paying attention and are ready to kind of get their hands into that and start taking some ownership and control over your own finances and your money. So I think it's a great place to wrap up. We are all about focusing on empowering military families and giving them the financial tools to make their own strong financial choices. I want to remind you, like Phil said, GoVA is not a financial institution. We are simply offering tools that you can use to manage your own finances in your own way. But we do meet all the educational criteria of the certifying organizations like the FDIC, like the Department of the Treasury. So the content that's offered on the Edge, it's very high quality. It's updated automatically, not by me. These are not just blog posts that are being put together, but we actually use a company that makes sure that our information meets those educational standards. It's updated regularly. It's going to be high quality information that you can really use and experiment. And It's smart. It has technology that learns with you, learns from you. And so if you start investigating budget tools, it's going to say, hey, have you checked out these 3 more budget resources? If you're learning about credit card management or debt management, then maybe you want to dive into this section of our site. So we encourage everyone who's listening today, please go to The Edge. Get your free membership if you are active duty, veteran, or military spouse. You join for free today. You can jump right into these budget management tools, and we hope that you will start the year on the right foot and get your budget where you want it to be. Thanks so much for joining us today, Phil. It's been a pleasure, and I hope you've really informed our audience.
Thank you so much. Take care.